Hey guys, it's Michael. I usually say that this is going to be a quick video, but I'm going to give you the heads up that this is probably not going to be a quick video. Um, I just really honestly wanted to do a video discussing feelings of introducing yourself to people you know, being in the situation of being with your parents or a parent, and introducing one another, all that fun stuff of just interacting with other people that you know, but they can't figure out who you are in relationship to your parent or brother or sister, anyone in your family. And also kind of the molds that are created when you're created and how people view them differently. So, probably the best way to just start talking is about molds because they're a really great segue into the other part. For myself, I'm not overly religious. I'm a little weird in that area. I'd probably go with more agnostic, but then I just have these weird, bizarre beliefs that are just my own beliefs. But regardless of any beliefs, just set those aside because I do not want to get into a religious debate, anything like that. I honestly feel like you're kind of built or created with two molds. A lot of people, they say that God broke their mold because they were so perfect or because God just wanted one of you. They didn't want multiple. Unless you're twins, then God kind of didn't break your mold until you both were born. But that's a different story. The baseline is that there's a mold. Not a mold as in like your walls or anything like that, but a mold that you would make metal, cups, all those fun things. So, personally, there's two, in my opinion. There's an outer mold that everyone sees. So, what you see right now in me just sitting here, that's what I would consider the outer mold. And then the inner mold, the second mold, or what could be argued to be the first mold, is the inner one. The one that's somewhere inside of you that no one can see, but they know in a vague way that it's there because it's how you act. It's your moral compass. It's your little traits, all those kind of things. Is what people get to know when they know you. They don't know those things if they just see you on the street because they're just seeing your outer mold. They haven't interacted with you. They don't know the way you run. Not like literally like run, but just the way you work type thing. Like if you're nice to old people, if you're mean to old people, if you hate children, those kind of things. All your different personality traits. So that'd be your inner mold. And then the mold that you know inside of you what you are, that kind of thing. Just like when you're gay, you know you're gay. Outside, you may try to appear not gay, but inside, it's that inner mold that is who you truly are, not the outer mold of you trying to fit into society. So, sorry, my hair is combed a different way, so it's weird trying to figure out how to brush it. Not that you care. Anyways, outer mold. That kind of is a segue into meeting other people with your parents. As you can see, I'm a little dressy. Not for you, although you could think that, but I was at a funeral, which kind of got my gears going into this thought process of how it just feels to be yourself transitioning and meeting people that you know or that you knew when you were little but you don't know. And then having your parental figure stand right next to you and introduce you or try to figure out if they should introduce you and how that makes you feel. But on top of that, how you can imagine they might feel because I have yet to talk to my mother about how she felt about that. And I almost kind of know the answer that she's going to say I was uncomfortable. I didn't know what to say. I didn't like that position that you put me in. And that's frustrating because your parent, my parent, they are typically going to say you. They're going to point that blame on you because it's your fault that you're transitioning. It's everything that's happening, all the differences they have to make in their life are your fault. Or at least that's what my mother has kind of drilled into me lately with all her little snapping attitudes when it comes to transgender. For me, just quick little thing, my transgender status in my household and just in general is a big elephant in the room, but it's an elephant in the room that we are trying to just push to a corner or into a closet, but it's not fitting in there because sometimes it comes out, and usually that's when people get hurt, and that's why it's being pushed in the closet, is because we're trying to avoid, or at least I'm trying to avoid being hurt. I don't know what my mother's trying to do. I don't know what. I think she's still processing it. There's just a lot of stuff. So you get snapped at. It's going to happen. It's just trying to figure out eventually how to bring that subject about, maybe find a good counselor. My counselor personally is not someone that I feel comfortable having a discussion with my mother and herself and her being the mediator, because I know for a fact that she's not overly accepting of what I'm choosing to do with my life, and she tends to side with my mother, but they have a weird relationship. Totally not gonna go into that. But anyways, I was introduced, the moment I walked in, my mother sees a friend, Holly, at the funeral. It was Holly's mother's funeral, but we went for her sister, Candy, because I know Candy. I hang out with Candy all the time. Candy is like in her 60s or something. But I hang out with old people. Never met Holly, or actually I have, but I don't remember this. So it makes it even more awkward, is you're being introduced to someone you know, but you don't know. And they don't know you as you right now, as your outer shell that you're presenting. They know the old outer shell before you kind of molded it in, because you grow every year. You're like a snake. You're molding your skin, and you're just growing and growing and growing. So they hug. They're like, oh, so glad to see you. I almost cursed. My brother's standing right there. They talk, oh my gosh, so good to see you. I stand there, she like starts walking away. My mother's like, oh, wait. This is my other child. Yeah, you guys have met. He was a girl. He was, Tatiana, yeah. It's like, what the fuck? Excuse me. The response from her was not what I was expecting. Oh, nice to meet you. You're really short. Guess that's better than kind of something else, but still, that's just really bizarre. But then it's kind of like, why? Why did you do this, Mom? Why? Like, that's not your right. But then you gotta think, after being angry and frustrated and, I don't know, whatever feelings you have, is it her right? Doesn't she have some degree of being able to tell them? Because it's awkward for you being in this new shell, in this new mold that you're so much happier in. But it's even more uncomfortable and awkward for your parents having you in this mold that you are happy with, but they can't always see that you're happy, because you do get upset. And with my mother, she thinks that that's because I'm not happy. With your parents, it might be something else. And so they're trying to get these people to recognize that, no, this is my child. Like, this person. And the only way they can do that is to tell that person, well, my child is transitioning. They don't always put it in the nicest way. They aren't very diplomatic about it at times. They're very blunt at times. They don't know how to handle that situation. And you gotta think, even if you weren't transitioning, would you know how to handle that situation? And Matt, I know personally, when I'm a parent, I'll handle a situation a lot differently. But that's because I've been in the shoes of being transgender. My mother's never been in those shoes. So she doesn't know. She doesn't know what it feels like inside for that person, of being outed, of having these people around this person that you're talking to possibly hear this conversation and then know, and then you're thinking inside, well, does everyone know now? They don't know. Not the people, but your parents, your family, your brothers and sisters. Not all of them have talked to you. You guys haven't created a status quo of how things are going to be done. And should you have to write out a script? Is kind of where you can start beginning to understand your parents' frustration with you. They're not frustrated with you necessarily. They're frustrated with the situation of not knowing what to do. And it's not their fault, it's not your fault, because society hasn't prepared us to know what we do in the case of having a transgender child. We don't know how to interact with other people that we've known for ages, and then have this child that's finally blossoming into who they are, whereas your parents thought that you were blossoming into a fine young lady, a fine young man, whatever you are, that's opposite of what you are now. And it's just a total mindfuck for everyone. No one's written a book of, when you meet someone, this is what you say. Even I, off the top of my head, wouldn't know what to say. Like, wait, you're kind of paralyzed. You're stunned. Like, you're trying, both of you your gears are going. You've got steam coming out of your ears because you're trying to figure out, what do we say to this person? Do we just kind of just like brush it off and have my child be left out because we don't want that uncomfortable situation? But either way, it's going to be uncomfortable. Either way, things are always going to be uncomfortable until you can finally have a status quo where you can have this agreement. But then it goes back to that whole thing of, do you really have to have that? Is that okay? Is that potentially why your parents are upset with you? Because you expect them to address other people in a certain way about you, but you haven't talked about it. And generally, with other people that you don't talk about how you're going to introduce them, because it's not something that comes up. It's not something that's usually important. That was my phone, sorry. So it just makes it even more frustrating for everyone. And you start to begin to understand where all this pent-up hostility is, of why people are snapping at you sometimes because you're transitioning. When it comes out of the blue, you just got to think back to all these situations of, I'm me, I'm Michael. This is how I look now. But my mother's introducing me to someone that babysat me when I was little, who knew me with pigtails or ponytail or dress, whatever. And so it's just awkward. It's trying to figure out that balance of shells and everything. And I know this doesn't make sense. I know that I could potentially be digging a hole for myself, in the sense that I'm saying that's all our faults. But then it's also no one's fault. It's just, communication is really hard when you're transgender, because you want people to understand. But then in the process of wanting them to understand and trying to make them understand, they might feel like you're trying to convince them that you're this person, even though you're not. They might just think that you're, I don't know, in a phase. So you kind of understand, in a sense, for sure, where all this anger is for different reasons. There's so many reasons why both of you can be angry, both parties, the transgender and the family, because it's just hard. So I guess just think about that. When you're uncomfortable, try and put yourself in your parents' shoes and think about how uncomfortable they are. But still keep in mind that you don't have to change. You can still be yourself. You can be the new you, the happier you. Just, I guess, don't blame them as much. And maybe parents don't blame your child as much, because no one knows how to handle the situations. It's just what it is now. Maybe in 20 years it'll be better. Maybe someone will have written a book of how to handle situations. So, I guess, ultimately just believe your child and believe yourself when you know that this is the path you want. Don't let people make you second guess. Just do what makes you happy. So, I guess that's the end. Hope you guys all take care. Go Seahawks.